to sit back and think that everything is the same and ask yourself questions like, well, I always did it this way before and it always worked before. Leave that stuff behind. That doesn't work anymore. We can't continue to fool ourselves. We have to recognize the fact that it is different. The world is different. And you know what? It's better.
Hello, I'm your host, Evelyn Clark, and this is the Six Star Business Podcast, where we have conversations with amazing, incredible people all about what it takes to be six star, going beyond the status quo, doing things differently, and how they bring purpose, love, and impact into their businesses every day. And here we are with Dean Mercado, part 2. What a cracker of an episode. Dean is my favorite New Yorker from the USA, and this one just builds upon the last conversation we had a little while ago. Dean is here to inspire business owners to look beyond the confines of the status quo, as in not just our own businesses, but our communities, our society. Most changes happen at this level. As purpose-based business owners and values-based business owners, we have the power to make changes. We have the power to go outside of what the status quo is. He talks all about this, and he really is inspiring a lot of change, because the last 3 years have been all about change, and now it's time for us to step up and look at the world in a different way. Enjoy it. It's awesome. Thank you. Oh, here we are. I am very excited. It's Friday morning in Australia, and this is a cross-continent episode. Gosh, these are special, these ones. And what's more special about this one is I've got, well, first of all, my co-host Corey Sebest in Germany. How are you doing, Corey?
I'm great, and I'm very excited, like you, to have Dean back, the second take. So
yes, so and that was it. We've got Dean Mercado from New York, USA, back for part 2, because there's a lot to be talked about. There's a lot to be said, isn't there, Dean?
Absolutely. Put it mildly, absolutely.
We've got a lot to cover, and I'm so grateful that you are so open and happy to come back and just keep sharing space with us to unpack these topics and go where we need to go, really.
Absolutely. I mean, we were on fire the last time we spoke. And just a little call out to everybody who is checking this out. Make sure you go back and listen to the first segment. I think you'll find it worth your while.
Absolutely. It was when I listened to it again after it was published, and I was just so inspired, so excited, and it made me even more excited about this conversation. So I was thinking about where would be a great place to start, because man, we went through so many different areas last time. But one thing that stood out to me was, and I was thinking about where to go, and that is more about where we are today. We've just been through a cataclysmic, world-altering, life-altering event the last 3 years, and businesses change forever. And I think a lot of business owners are still coming to terms with who they are, what their business is, how to operate, a whole lot of stuff, psychologically, mentally, emotionally. Let's start there, Dean. Talk to me about what you see, what you think businesses need. Where do we go from here?
Sure, I'd be glad to. One thing for everybody to understand is the 3 people you see on the screen here, we're on completely different sides of the world. And I do firmly believe that we're seeing a lot of the same things happen, whether you're in Germany or New York or Australia at this point in time. And that, in a sense, is comforting to me from the standpoint that we are all human. And the human experience is quite similar no matter where you're standing on the planet. Time and humanity is precious, right? And it's what we do with that time that we have that makes all the difference. Now, for entrepreneurs, we were dealt a massive death blow these last couple of years. In New York, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I was under the understanding that we had about a 40% closure rate of small business over the last 3 years. That's extraordinary. When you If you stepped into Manhattan, the city of the world, right? The place where everybody wants to go and check out, and you see what Manhattan looks like now compared to what Manhattan was 5 short years ago, you won't believe what you're seeing. Not only are you, when you go down most major venues in Manhattan, you're seeing storefronts all shuttered, closed up. You never saw that in Manhattan like that. Not like that, right? And also when you had the wonderful government of New York allow some of these entities to march through New York City and burn things down and beat up store owners and rob everything blind, and police are being told not to do anything about it, to stay out of the way. The finest police force supposedly on the planet are being told you can't do anything about it. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. How are you supposed to feel as a store owner in New York? How are you supposed to feel? How are you supposed to operate in that situation? So what did we see? We saw businesses. We saw mom and pop shops, some that have been around for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, close their doors. Say, you know what? I had enough. It's not worth it anymore. I don't want to do this. The fun is gone. It's like the fun was sucked right out of it. There's no more good in that. Right? So we're talking about like New York City, the big place come Christmas time, New York City. New York City was the place to be Christmas time. It lights up like you've never seen before. Storefronts, everything, the displays, all lit up. Amazing place to be. I remember entertaining some guests in Manhattan probably about 6-7 years ago. A couple of folks from Keep, a whole bunch of them came out. And, so I was taking them around through New York City, and they were blown away with how cool everything was. And then I look at what it's like now, and it's heartbreaking, and it's heart-wrenching. It looks like it, and it's getting better. Don't get me wrong. It's on the mend, but it looked like a war zone. It looked like you had tanks going down the block. You can't believe it unless you experience it. But the worst part about it was the lack of policing put everybody on edge because everybody was afraid of walking down the street. Because you're going to get robbed, you're going to get murdered, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. And the murder rate, the death rate in New York City went skyrocketing. We didn't have that like that. Not since like the 1970s. That's all been cleaned up. And then they just allowed this chaos to ensue. Now, as a small business owner myself, as an entrepreneur, it breaks my heart to see good people have to go through that, to watch them deal with that. So the humanity side comes out. Now, as we've talked about in the past, I always say that breakdowns lead to breakthroughs. New York, I could speak of, we experienced a major breakdown. Major breakdown. It was a meltdown, my opinion. Right? I have friends who work in Manhattan, and they can't stand going in there. For a while, they were afraid. You're talking big, strong men afraid to go in there. And it's not that they can't defend themselves. They're like, why should I have to? I got kids to get home to. I don't want to deal with this. Especially if you're working late hours or in the dark. In the wintertime, it gets dark early here. So breakdowns lead to breakthroughs. I am one of those people who are on the forefront of that, trying to push it forward with everything I have. Saying, you know what? We need a breakthrough. We're smart enough to create a breakthrough. We're good enough to create a breakthrough. We just got to get the red tape out of the way. We got to get the troublemakers out of the way. We've got to convince the right people to make sure that they know their rights, that they stand up for themselves, that they push the needle forward instead of just doing this and allowing themselves to be beat down. I can't believe what I experienced and what I saw the last several years. But as I have said before, and I say again, breakdowns lead to breakthroughs. And whenever humanity takes that dip, our energy dipped massively in the last 3 years. Down, I would say, into what we call the vibration of fear, which is a very low vibration. We have since climbed back up out of the vibration of fear, and we're a little bit above that now. We're not where we were 5 years ago, but we're much closer. Where the trajectory is going like this again. People are starting to wake up, which makes me really grateful and really happy, because it's going to take a few of us to say, time out. This crap doesn't work. We're not standing for it anymore. The fake news, and I hate to use that because it's an overused phrase, but there is fake news going on. There's a lot of fake garbage being passed around, all this propaganda, this rhetoric, a lot of junk around the world. Um, Being in a news capital of the world here in New York City, we seem to get the worst of it. You probably know more about reality than I do, because we're being fed so much bad information. I don't listen to the news. I turned that off years ago because it's not worth anything. It's meant to drive you this way. And when you're down in this state of fear, trying to do the right thing, to do things that make a difference on this planet, become more difficult. Right? When we each work to raise our own vibration, everything gets easier. Now, I know this to be true. I'm living proof of it. And I say that because my business is starting to go like this again, because my energy shifted in 2023. When you have
Dean,
that, please.
yeah, thank you for that. I'd love to go back to just tap into what you were saying about New York City, because I know for a lot of their listeners, whether they're in Australia, Europe, the UK, which is where a lot of our listeners are, a lot of them have home-based businesses.
Yes.
When they went through the last few years, they didn't see anything different except they got locked down.
Right.
Then they were allowed to go out and walk their 3 kilometers or whatever the rule was for their particular area. But what you're describing is something that's almost out of like the war zone,
Yeah.
right? What you're describing is very different to what most people would have experienced. And just hearing you say it just makes me go, oh my God, like it was like you're in a completely different planet, but you're in Manhattan, you're in New York. So you had that visceral experience of
Yes.
living and seeing something completely transformed. And so how do you think that impacted people's, like you talked about their vibration and going into that state of fear? Would it have been a hell of a lot worse than, say, for me, who works from home, lives in a nice area? I still have the same views, rolling green hills. You know what I mean? I didn't see the fighting and the shop fronts closed down and being in a sense of danger. So talk to me about that, because I just want to get a sense of understanding of the difference that you experienced and how that really impacted you and other business owners.
Sure. Now, luckily for me and my family, we live out on the island. And it's like a night and day thing when you go from the island to New York City. I kept my family purposely out of New York City for the last 3 years. If there was no reason to go in there, we didn't go in there. Right? As much as being a homeschooling dad and you want to do those day trips and go on and see the cool things, you can't. It just wasn't safe. Now for New Yorkers, us so-called tough people, right? That's what was the most extraordinary shift for me, was to realize that a lot of it was this. A lot of people are all talk. And when push came to shove, they all cowered down. Oh, I got to follow the rules. Oh, but they'll let this group march down, Fifth Avenue and burn it down. And no one gets prosecuted. No one. So these store owners get everything they own stolen and destroyed, and no one's held accountable. Oh, because it's not politically correct. It doesn't fit the narrative right now. And that's the part that drove most of us crazy because, as I've mentioned in our last conversation, I look at New York as the melting pot. And to call us racist because we don't like this group of people burning down our stores, really? What does that have to do with races? What does that have to do with race? You're burning down our stores. You're killing our livelihoods. When is that okay, no matter what color you are, no matter what your sexuality is? When is that okay to destroy someone else's livelihood? I'm one of those guys where I don't really care what your sexuality is. What your sexuality is your sexuality. It's nothing to do with me. Go about your business. I'm not judging you. I grew up in New York. We've been seeing that way before anybody else did around the world. It doesn't phase us. So for them to do this and say, you guys are racist, or you guys deserve to have your stuff burned down because you're anti this or anti that. Really? Who told you that? Better yet, who sold you that? Because that's baloney. That's a bunch of crap. But it drove me nuts because I saw all these tough New Yorkers not so tough anymore. They all just allowed it to happen. And that's the part that made me nuts. And it made me like, wow, do I belong here anymore? Should I stay? Should we go? I mean, I'm born and raised in New York. So to leave here would not be an easy decision for me. I have a lot of family here. I have a lot of friends here. My roots are here. I love it here. Until they do stuff like that. And they pass laws that protect the wrong people. The wrong people meaning the ones that are doing harm to innocent people. And things aren't being prosecuted. And the red tape's being thickened. And everything is angling towards anti-small business. Why? Because we think for ourselves. Why? Because we're not as controllable. And I hate to say things like that. It bothers me because I'm not a negative guy. So it runs against everything I stand for or stand with. Which was more of a reason why I took on the mini mission of getting in front of, as I said, at 1 million eyeballs in 2023. I'm going to be all over the place this year, speaking, talking, helping people find their way through this. Because until we correct what's going on within, our outer world will not correct. We'll stay out of balance. And that can't continue. If we allow that to continue, things are going to suffer, struggle, die, go down that we can't afford to have happen. We've been kind of decimated, my opinion, here in New York. Where it's like, I don't know how people are managing to pay their bills. You're seeing entrepreneurs who were once proud business owners now delivering pizzas. And there's nothing wrong with delivering pizzas, but it's not the same money you were making as an entrepreneur. Now, if you have a family with 3 kids, good luck trying to feed them. And I say that with all due respect. I mean, I applaud anybody who goes out and finds the work and do what you got to do to get through whatever you got to get through. And when you do the right things, the universe does tend to conspire around you and make things happen for you and open up doorways for you. I'm a firm believer in that. And that's why I said my business is starting to go this way again. And that's because my intentions got cleaned up a little bit. My own mindset got cleaned up a little bit. And with that, here come the coaching clients. They're coming out of the woodwork right now. I knew they were there. But they needed to know that they were there. They needed to know that they need to speak with somebody. They needed to know that they need to start getting in the conversation, start healing, start moving forward. It's not about they did this wrong to me and they're bad and these guys, they're terrible. And no, that's over. It's all over. It's what we do from this moment forward that makes all the difference in our lives, our businesses, this world.
Mm.
Right?
I totally agree. And it's great to hear that people are coming out of the woodwork. They're ready now to start talking and moving forward. I think there's these natural cycles, right? We go through
Yes.
these cycles of shock, grief, then there's the process. And I was relating what you were saying about how the small businesses were decimated in New York City and New York itself, and thinking about Australia. And Australia got hit pretty hard, and it was very, depending on where you were in Australia, it might have been more difficult. And there was one particular industry, the construction industry,
Hmm.
and they were really targeted. And once down in Victoria, one of the southern states of Australia, they actually did this protest, and they basically went and stuck their trucks lined up over on a highway, and they just sat there, and a lot of them bandied together, and there was this camaraderie, and they were just standing up and going, no way, you can't tell us what to put in our bodies. We're here, we're the
Right.
lifeblood of this country. And there was let's just say that the powers that be did their best to really break them down and to control them, and a lot of them caved, but a lot of them didn't. And I was seeing in a chat just yesterday someone who is, I think he was a concreter, and he had a trucking business or something like that. And he said, well, I went out and I got a different job for 7, 8 months just
Hmm.
to earn money. And
Hmm.
now I'm back doing my job before. And no one was going to take that away from me. And, and he just had this, attitude of, it was just life. It was just another path. And look, we're back on track and we're doing our thing. And then I'm seeing that they're sharing their stories now. People are ready
Right.
to talk. They're talking about what they went through. A lot of people, are now finally ready to talk, finally ready to sort of move on. Some of us, depending on the kind of business we had to transform a lot earlier. Maybe the
Yes.
service-based businesses, but those bricks and mortar businesses, or the industries that really got slammed, they had to do stuff, and they're still. It was so devastating to them because they were defined by what they did. They're
Yes.
defined by their work, and I think a lot of us are, right.
Sure.
Um, but the trauma associated with what we've all been through is huge. Is really huge.
Yeah, I think
And
you're on point.
yeah, and I
Absolutely.
think some people have never had to face something like that before. And also, if they're our age group and even older, they've probably never been taught to even go within and look at their stuff, because they got brought up by parents, which is a generation that never talked about anything. Everything was under the rug. You
Right.
just brushed it off. What do you mean you're hurt? But come on, stand up, get on with it. You'll be fine. Right.
Right.
And so that's been their modus operandi. And look what they've just had to go through. And no wonder our suicide rates went through the roof, and they actually withheld publishing that public data in Australia.
Yes. And that's why when I look at what you two are doing here, you are the news now. You are the media. You're spreading the goodness around the world. It has to get around somehow. The truth has to get around somehow. People have to speak. I love the way you share that. And we're going through this cycle right now. And unless we allow ourselves to travel through that, the struggle and the suffer is going to continue. We need to release that. We need to become, it is what it is. We need to become okay. I didn't cause it. You didn't cause it. The state of the world is not all on your shoulders, right? However, we each have to do our part at this point.
Yeah.
And that does mean, it does mean stepping up to the plate. It does mean, and I hate to sound harsh, but I'm a New Yorker. Put up or shut up. It's time to raise your game. Humanity, it's time to raise your game. Entrepreneurs, you need to lead the way. We are the ones that are best suited to help move people through this. And I say that because entrepreneurs are typically more adaptable to change than your average, like, let's say, when my parents were alive, they would not. I'm so grateful they weren't here for this. As much as I loved them and I wanted them to be around forever, I could not have imagined having them go through this, and the stressors that would have caused and put on all of us, to have them deal with this. Like you were saying, their generation was
Mm.
not prepared for these kinds of things. Our generation wasn't formally prepared either. We prepared ourselves. That's the one thing I say about our generation is we were very smart in certain ways. And some of those ways are really they're gonna make all the difference, in my opinion, to what happens to humanity over the next 50 years. Because not only are we course correcting ourselves, but many of us are working towards course correcting our children, because they're the ones really taking the hit. The suicide rate amongst children is astronomical at this point. In the United States, they're trying to sell it to us in a way. They're saying the number one killer of kids is guns. You're full of what. They're trying to take the guns away from Americans because that's the only reason they can't abuse us the way they want to. Because they know if Americans have guns, they fight back. It's that simple, So they have legislation over and over and over again, coming at it from every angle to try and get the guns out of our hands. It's my right whether or not I want to have a gun to protect my family. That's my right. You can't have it from me. And we watch what they've done. We're not dumb. We've started watching the countries that have had their guns taken away. What happened in
Australia.
Australia? Look how you got
Yep.
locked down.
Oh, yeah.
We saw more stuff about Australia than we saw about our own. They didn't show us the damage they were doing to ourselves. They were showing us what was going on over there. And that's fortunate but unfortunate. Making it seem like, oh, wow, you guys got it so great here in America. Look what's going on over there in Australia. You guys shouldn't complain here in America. You got everything. Really? They're burning down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. We got everything? That's okay with you? Right? So again, the rules are for thee and not for me. And this is part of what I teach my kids in homeschool. And you may or may not know a book called Animal Farm. Animal Farm by George Orwell. It's a book we're reading right now. But we're not reading it the way they would read it in school. We're reading it, we're adapting it to history, and we're dissecting it. And I'm pointing out to them all the parallels between what that book speaks of and what's going on in the world today. And it's the same crap that was going on in the world in the 1920s, 30s, 40s. We're repeating the cycle because we don't know history. It's that simple. Americans, we don't know history. So we are doomed to keep repeating it over and over and over again. And until our generation, changes that for our kids, the cycle will just repeat. So at
I
least
don't think it's just, I don't think it's just America that doesn't
I
know
can't
history.
speak for anywhere else. That's just what I see.
I can tell you, Australia's exactly the same. What they're teaching the kids in school, in the schools, even what I got taught in school, is
Right.
shocking.
Yes,
Shocking.
exactly. Lies.
Mm.
Lies, propaganda, narrative, rhetoric. Stuff that does not serve you. Right? And that's why, I think I mentioned this the last time we spoke. It's like I got all the college degrees. And then I spent the next 20 years after that trying to unlearn all the garbage they put in me. And that is what made becoming a successful entrepreneur so difficult for me, was because I had all the formal training that was not correct. It's like, why didn't they teach us any of that? Why didn't they prepare us for that? My mother used to say to me all the time, she used to say, when I was in school, she used to say, they used to teach us how to manage a bank account. I'm like, wow, they actually taught you how to manage money and a bank account? They didn't teach us anything like that. It's like you would think that they would, that prepares you to be part of the world. It's their system. It's their financial system. At least show us how to use it. Nowadays, they don't even want to show you how to use it because they want to make sure you fail. And that, to me, is like a real sad side of this. And it should tell every entrepreneur listening to this, don't think doom and gloom. Think You have to be the one who steps up. It's up to you to step into your power. It's up to you to dig and do research. It's up to you to surround yourself with people who are having the right conversations at the right time, people who lift your energy. Stop listening to the news. Stop allowing the crap to clutter up the gears up here. Remove that stuff. Remove yourself from that. Step away from it, whatever that takes. And it does mean sometimes letting go of things that we grew accustomed to. Some of those things are many of the systems that have been placed on us: the healthcare system, the financial system, the public education system, all these broken systems that we just follow along with because that's what we're told, and we're good little soldiers. That's what we do. We do what we're told. Stop. Stop doing what you're told. Start thinking for yourself. Start looking at this and saying, how do I course correct myself? How do I add more value to my fellow man? How do I step into my power and earn my place here on this planet? Because it's time for all of us at this point. We all need to step up and raise our game. It's not, well, let's all just wait for Correa. Maybe Correa will figure this out. He's a smart guy. He'll get it all solved. And when he does, the world gets better. And in America, it scares the you know what out of me, because that's what everybody's doing here. Oh, when Donald Trump comes back, he's going to save the world. Really? Whether he has the ability or he doesn't, stop waiting for a savior. Stop. And start asking the question and saying, what can you do right now? What can I do right now? So if a savior does show up, at least we're moving in the right direction, and I can be part of that movement to help move it along. I'll get my practice in now. I'll get reps in. I'll get my repetitions in. In America, we've been very, and I can only speak for America in this set, we've been very stuck in the mud, where we're sitting back and waiting for someone else to do something about it. Weren't you going to do something? I thought you were going to. You don't have this? Come on, folks. Really? When would now be the right time to step into your power? I was going to say something much worse, but I won't. I would. My New York in me was about to come out there, but I held my tongue there. But really, for entrepreneurs, it is up to us right now. It is up to us to pave the way. We need to create the jobs right now. We need to create new markets right now. We need to create new systems, right? I talked about broken systems. Yes, there's a broken public school system. There are alternatives. I homeschool my kids. I created a new system. I didn't like that system. I'm not complaining about it anymore. I went and did something about it. That's the way you're supposed to operate, in my opinion. Right? You don't like it? Do something about it. What are you going to do?
I want to jump in here, Dean,
Please.
and just thanks. I'm always thinking about I guess the listeners and where people are at today, and given what we've just talked about. So we've spent a bit of time. We've talked about New York and the problems and what people have gone through, and there's probably people that still need to let go. They need to heal. And I
Yes.
think the first step before they move forward is they've got to just let go and forgive. Now, there's
Yes.
forgiveness and there's acceptance.
Yes.
We can't move forward cleanly unless we forgive and accept. We can't change what's been done. And there's a lot of people out there in regret, in anger, and they have all these pent up feelings and emotions, and it blocks them. It blocks them from being able to be purely, joy and bring their genius to the world. They can't do that because they're still full of this anger. And you see
Yes.
them in chat groups in different places, and they're still having goes at other people, and they're just filled with this. And I am sick of it. I'm sick of seeing people still pointing the fingers and pointing it out. I don't care you know what the choices a person has made. And you brought this out before, Dean. Like, you're from New York, you've seen everything, and you've grown up with everything from a young age at New York, the melting pot. So in terms of inclusivity and acceptance, you're the model, the standard. It comes from where you've grown up. And I think the rest of the world they need to just take a leaf out of your book and go, just get on with it. Accept that person's choice. Accept the other person's choice. It's got nothing to do with me. And that's the first step. And the next one is just forgive. If someone
Yes.
wronged you, or you think the government wronged you, or whatever, holding on to that emotion is just going to sit inside you, and it's not going to allow you to be free and healthy and happy and help others through your work. So I feel like there's just got to be this recognition of just, guys, people, let go, accept,
Yes.
forgive. And you got to do that first before we can move forward.
Oh, I so firmly agree. And thanks for going there. Because unless we forgive, we we're not releasing the energy. We don't want to keep that negative energy pent up inside. Is that who you really are? Is that who you want to be? And always remember, we forgive for us. Just because we forgive somebody doesn't mean we condone their actions. We forgive because we don't want to hold on to that energy anymore. It's not helping us, it's not serving us. Let it go. There's a saying, let it go, and let God. There's a saying, and if you're a God fearing person, you'll get that. Let go and let God. Get over it. Move on. Let the good in you come out. Use this as an opportunity. Be the person who fills the void. We had a lot of negative energy going on, a lot of evil going on in the last couple of years. That left a void. And that void is opening up possibility for all of us to fill it, all of us to step into it and say, you know what? We're better than this. We're way better than this. We didn't like what was just happening. So you know what? No, we don't. That's not going to, no more. Let's move past that, right? We forgive, right? We let it go, and we find our way forward. Because until we admit and forgive, it's not going to change. Right? Is it gonna make sense for me to hold on to that negative energy and anytime I get an opportunity, start a fight with somebody because they have a different point of view? We still have a lot of those here in New York. We have a lot of people who are living in what we call cognitive dissonance. They just don't want to hear it. They're right. They don't care what you think. There's no such thing as an alternate possibility, right? Hey, whatever, man. I can't help you. You obviously you got stuff you need to work out. Go work it out. Just don't work it out on my time. Go find somewhere else to deal with that. That's not what I'm about. I'm about, you know what? I forgave a long time ago. It is what it is. It doesn't mean I condone what they did here in New York. However, I'm already looking forward. I'm looking at 2023. What are we going to make out of this year? I didn't like the last three, regardless of what my businesses did, financially. This is not a reflection on that. Me personally, as a human being, I do not like the energy that was going around, at least in my neck of the woods, and with all of the people that I had the luxury of talking with and being around in the past couple of years. So my stance is, it doesn't make sense to just do this. My call out to myself was, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? So that's where like I said earlier, I came up with my mini mission, and it was about getting in front of people, having these tough conversations. This isn't pleasant. As much as I love seeing you both, you hate to admit that we made some mistakes the last couple of years. Humanity made a lot of mistakes the last couple of years. But the good part about it, it's just like when you have children and you see them mess up and then you see them push through it, right? We're like children. Now is our time to push through it, to grow past it, right? And show that we are better than this. There's way more to this game than what we've been shown and been provided to this point. Really, the sky's the limit. And again, I keep coming back to entrepreneurs because I do believe strongly that entrepreneurs are well tooled for this. They can help this movement very easily. All they have to do is get involved and just start talking to one another. Start hugging one another. Even if that's a virtual hug, start hugging one another. Feel human energy again. Feel the power of that. I halfingly joke with my kids all the time. I'm like, when I used to get together with my friends when I was a kid, teenager, every day when I would get together with them, we'd shake hands. Always shake hands with my friends. If it was a female friend, we'd hug. That's the way it was in New York growing up. So the guys, we'd shake hands. The girls would all hug. That's just the way it was. I love that because we connected. And that's why I still see those same people to this day. People that I was around when I was 12, 13. I still hang around with the same group of friends. Why? Because we've been through so much. We connected at such a deeper level that we're like family. And we'll always be like family. And that to me, that's been missing. And so when it comes to our agencies and all the marketing and stuff, I always say, what was old is now new again. And what I mean by that is the humanity side of the marketing, the humanity side of doing business. That's what's new again. And the unfortunate part about it is many of us are uncomfortable with it now. We've been taught to think that it's wrong. That, you better not look for too long at that person or else they're going to sue you for sexual harassment. Really? Are you kidding me? Right? I just thought they had a cool hat on. Had nothing to do with anything that you're thinking about. Right? But this, living in New York, the litigation capital of the world, it got way out of hand. Everything you do, you're getting sued. And this is how they bankrupt you. They sue you for this, they sue you for that, and by the time you're done with your legal fees, you had to mortgage your house a third time, and, next thing you know, you're out on the street. But hey, we can change all of this. We can agree to fix the systems. The systems that aren't working, stop using them. Find new systems, right? The healthcare system's been broken forever. Find alternative medications, alternative healing. I used to laugh all the time. With my Italian grandmother in particular. I refer to as Nonna. That's Italian. And she was always drinking some sort of concoction, remedy, or whatever. And I'm like, she would like soak eggplant in water and leave that soaking for hours, and then she would drink the eggplant water. And I'm like, what are you doing? That's disgusting. And she was never sick. You know what I mean? She was like never ill. And when she had things go on, she was able to heal. It's like in the old days, they knew things that we were taught are silly. Oh, you're thinking about holistic medicine, or you're just one of those. You're one of those nut jobs, huh? You think holistic medicine? Really? I don't know about that. I tend to think holistic is the way to go. It's like I was joking with my kids, but not joking with my kids the other day when we were talking about a recent Star Trek movie where it's like in the movie, Captain Kirk was just caught for cheating on something, right? And cheating on part of his exam. He was like a cadet going through the military school. And Dr. McCoy, who's the main doctor, Kirk was being left behind. They were going to go on a mission. They wouldn't let Kirk get on. So McCoy jabs him with something, right? And says, okay, now you're my patient. Come on board. And he's like, I don't know, doctor. I'm starting to feel real weird. I got, my hands are getting all swollen. And he's like, oh, your hands are swollen? I got something for that. And jabs him with something else. And he's like, oh, my goodness. When he starts, I can't talk. He's got, oh, you got numb tongue? Oh, I got something for that too. And he jabs him with something else. And he's like, stop. And it sounds ridiculous, but this is what they're doing. They're over-medicating everybody. And this is part of why we're so like, in that cognitive dissonance, we're so like trained to do what we're told and not look into it and say, you know what? I've got a headache. Are there any natural remedies? Oh, maybe it has something to do with the food I'm eating. Maybe I need to cut back on some of this that has an overabundance of salt. Or maybe I need to try this essential oil that just inhaling a little bit of that might ease the tension, whatever it is. But no, 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 take this pill. Whatever you do, don't do the holistic thing. Take this pill, right? So we demonize anybody who tries to buck the system.
Dean, do you think that it's a case of people trusting in the system, or have they been taught that you just don't buck it, you don't question it?
Oh, they've been taught don't question it. You question it, you get demonized. They come at you with shame and guilt, two very low vibration emotions. They ridicule you. So people are so afraid of how they look to others that they'd rather not. They'd rather take the pill. Give me more jabs. Give me more pills. I'll do what I'm told. I'm afraid. When did we get so darn afraid? Afraid of everything. It's like at some point, we have to step up. At some point, we have to say, you know what? This doesn't work for me. Norna was right. Norna knew what she was doing. Right? My mother was the same way. My mother was not from the United States. She was from Italy. So she was the same way, always looking for a natural way to do something. Maybe that's where I got a little of it. But as they get older and as my mom gets older, the doctors are trying to stuff her with pills. And I'm like, stop, you're killing her. And it's sad and scary. But if we continue to allow, obviously whatever they're doing is not working well. Whatever they're doing. All the systems are broken. All the major infrastructure systems are broken. All around the globe.
It
Right?
feels like we're at a point that no longer can we pretend that nothing's changed. We can't pretend that, we'll just get back to normal, or let's just, put the blinkers on and we'll just get on with life and everything will be fine. I don't think that it just doesn't work anymore.
Brilliant.
And
I firmly agree.
if someone is still sitting there thinking that they can do that, I think they need to get, a bit of a wake up call,
Yeah.
because fundamentally life has shifted, and you just said all the systems are broken. We know that. And if we probably in our private moments, people acknowledge that,
Right.
but it's not socially acceptable to talk openly about some of these things.
Correct.
So we take those conversations to our private dining tables, or, in our own minds. And it feels to me like there's got to be, maybe it's a combination of, reconnecting with people, going back to humanity, having a mindset shift, doing the inner work that we spoke of before, the acceptance, the forgiveness,
Yes.
but then talking about it. We've got to start talking.
That's
And
correct.
I think talking about these things is the only way forward. And it might be something really new for some people. They've probably might not have ever spoken about their beliefs or their fears, or anything before. They've just kind of gone along through the motions of, this is what I think I need to do as a business owner. This is what
Right.
I think I need to do to succeed and be a good provider, and XYZ. And
Right.
things have changed.
They have.
How talk to me about mindset, because it keeps it's sitting there as you're talking, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a fundamental shift in the way people think and operate. Talk to me about the importance of mindset. Like, where does someone start with doing things?
Right. Well, it is all about mindset. And whether we're talking about growing our businesses or growing ourselves, one main premise that you can bank on is the fact that your business will only grow to the degree you do. If you do not work on growing yourself, good luck trying to grow your business. It's like you're fighting a ridiculous uphill battle that most likely you will lose. And I hate to say it that way, but in our model, the mind stretch model, the outer band that holds the whole system in is the mindset. That outer band is elastic. It can stretch, right? So your business can stretch and grow, but that's only if you stretch and grow, right? And when you stretch and grow, you allow your business to do it the same, to respond in kind, right? So to sit back and think that everything is the same and ask yourself questions like, well, I always did it this way before and it always worked before. Leave that stuff behind. That doesn't work anymore. We can't continue to fool ourselves. We have to recognize the fact that it is different. The world is different. And you know what? It's better. It's better. And that's what I'm going to tell you. It is better. And it's better because we're waking up. And when we wake up, we're going to start to see power, what that really looks like. We're going to start to understand how much of a difference we can make in everybody else's lives and our own. You work on yourself and you will see your surroundings start to change. Trust me on that one. I've been around long enough where I've seen it happen. It's happening in my life right now. The energy you give out is the energy that comes back. It doesn't have to come from the same people. It always comes back. It's a boomerang effect, right? So you want more? Become more. You want, right? You want to have more, you better become more. You also got to do more. Actions follow right in suit with mindset. So to start growing our mind, we have to also realize that we can't just think about it. Our actions have to be congruent with what we're thinking, what our mindset, how we stretch our mindset. We have to stretch our actions. We have to start doing some different things because the things we were doing gave us the broken systems that we had. We don't want those anymore. We want and deserve something better than that. Now, humanity is smart enough, in my opinion, and resilient enough. And that's one of the things I love about humanity. You can punch us in the face 20 times. We're going to get up 20 times. It's just the way we are. You know, it is what it is. So I love that resilience. I've seen it, especially in entrepreneurs, right? And that's, again, why I'm on this mini mission to help as many of those entrepreneurs that are willing to work on their mindset a little bit, that are willing to change their actions, to create a different reality. We could sit back and allow the same old to come right at us and slam us once again. You think it's over with COVID? You keep allowing, and you keep sitting still where you are. Wait till the next one comes down the pipe, you know? And there will be a next one. And maybe it'll be dressed up with different makeup on and a different outfit. But I'll tell you what, it's the same garbage. It's the same distractions. It's the same control mechanisms. They just change the name, right? Dress it up a different way and say, here you go again. Be stoppable. What I'm telling you is be unstoppable. To change and shift your mindset, you have to take on that mindset of being unstoppable. You have to understand that you are the creator here. You are the change agent. You are the person who has to start moving in the direction you want to see the world go. You don't like where it is? Sit back and just think for a minute. Where do you want it to go? What would it look like? If the world could be perfect for you in a year, what would that look like? You know, where would you be in that picture? What are you doing a year from now at that moment? So we're future pacing. We're looking at the future saying, this is what I want. And then we can work backwards to say, okay, well then how do I create that? How do I manifest that? Right? And Evelyn, you're totally right by saying we have to talk. Most of the answers are going to come through either solitude, where you're just going within, or dialogue, where you're connecting with others. Right? We're all energy. We are all interconnected, whether you realize it or believe it or don't. I didn't make that up, but I'm also not naive to think that it's not true. From everything I see, all the stuff I see, we are all energy and we're all connected. Our physical forms are what are manifesting here for us, and that's fine. But our thoughts are all interwoven. That's why you could have three people on three totally different sides of the planet, all thinking very alike. Yeah, I saw some devastation here in New York. However, that's not what I choose to focus on, which is what attracts you to me and me to you. The three of us are thinking something bigger and better. All right, we saw the breakdown. All right, I've already done my soul searching around that, and I've done my forgiveness thinking around that. I've already forgave. I moved on. Now it's, what am I doing about it? I know what I want to create. I'm looking to empower entrepreneurs right now as best I can. Give them all the tools necessary to say, you know what? This isn't that hard. Business is simple, but it's not easy. You have to do the work. Same with your mindset. It's simple, but it's not easy. You have to do you have to do the work. And part of that is shutting off the noise, the garbage, shutting off the clutter and the chatter. And sometimes that means giving up things that you couldn't see yourself giving up. You got friends that are spewing venom in your ear all day long? Get rid of them. Choose new friends. If they can't separate from their cognitive dissonance, bless and release them. I learned that from a past client of mine. They taught me how to bless and release people that just weren't serving you, people that just didn't fit anymore. They might have fit me 5 years ago. I might have thought it was funny, the things they said and the way they behaved around certain things. When I saw the devastation, and some things I don't think are so funny anymore. I don't make them wrong over it. I just choose not to partake in it now. Hey, you're entitled to your beliefs, right? Go off and do whatever you want to do. But you know what? Leave me out of it. I'll go do my thing. You do your thing, I'll go do my thing. If someday you want to talk about why I want to go do my thing, I'm happy to have that conversation. But this doesn't work for me. And being bold enough, strong enough to say that to somebody you love, not easy. I would never profess to say it is. However, it is required of us. Protect your energy at all costs at this point in time. We call them energy vampires. They're all over the place. Energy vampires are everywhere right now. Misery loves company. They want to suck you dry of everything you got. Drag you down into the gutter with them. Is that what you want to be? I don't.
So, no. Um, I absolutely love this. And I'm just thinking, there might be people listening to this going, well, this is great, but what if I don't want to be unstoppable? And what if I just want to serve my clients and, um, pull my weight, get my income in and put food on the table? And, why do I have to step up? Or maybe they're asking themselves, well, what impact can I really have? And this is where I'll answer, but then I'm going to hand over to you.
Sure.
I just want to point out that small businesses are the lifeblood of every economy. It's the lifeblood of the Australian economy, the US economy. I don't know about the German economy. There's a lot of big companies in Germany, but overall, what I'm saying is that small business can change everything. It can impact governments, policies, ways of doing things. Small businesses are what drive our communities. So we have the ability to create the new. We have the ability to bring in changes. And unfortunately, one of the things that's happened in the last 3 years is they drove us apart. Well, they tried to drive us apart and disconnect us from people. And I've seen so many people feel very isolated, and you become disempowered. So for the entrepreneur that's then feeling isolated and disempowered, guess what? They don't have their juice anymore, and they're not able to step forward and do what you're talking about, Dean.
Mm-hmm.
So if people are in that space, then it's time to reconnect and let go of the fear. If you've got fears around it, you've got to get over it. You've got to let go. And again, move on. Because the fastest way for us to create change in our society is for small business owners to tap into their genius, but they've got to connect with others. And that's why, we have the Six Star community. It's about business owners connecting. It's
Yes.
not about selling to each other. No, the magic that happens when we get together and we start talking is phenomenal. And it's hard to explain in words what it does, because you've got all these people with all their different wisdom and experience and energy and heart all bringing to a conversation, and what you get out of it's exponentially greater than what any individual could have come up with on their own. But I feel like also for us to make the shifts and the transformation that you're aiming to do, Dean, you can't do it alone.
Spot on. I agree wholeheartedly with everything that you just said. And for the entrepreneur, for the business owner out there, to be a change agent doesn't mean you have to do anything crazy or radical. Let's just talk about starting with becoming a better human being yourself. How are you treating the people around you? Right? What kind of customer service are you delivering? I've seen customer service go into the dumper the last couple of years. There's no excuse for that. There's no reason for that. So it doesn't mean you need to get up on your soapbox and get a big megaphone and start screaming out that everybody's to blame and everybody's wrong and you're the best. That's not what we're talking about here. What we are talking about is small steps, small changes, reconnecting, understanding that you do need to play a role. That role can be whatever you want it to be. If everybody does a little bit, the trajectory of everything, the vibration of the planet shifts, right? Hug one more person this week. That alone shifts the vibration of this planet, right? Take your shoes off and go walk out in the grass this week. That alone shifts the vibration of the planet. It's the simple little things that if everybody starts taking part and doing a little bit, all of a sudden we start noticing things start correcting themselves. Things start getting better. The energy starts getting better. The conversations start to lighten up a little bit. This is a heavy conversation. It's a necessary one. Most people don't want to have it. But you know what? Unless we release it and have it, you can live vicariously through what you're hearing from the three of us here for now. But I do invite you into the conversation because you need to forgive and release and start looking at where do you want to go with this? What works for you? Right? Yes, creating a business or refining your business right now, that's a wonderful thing to do. If you truly believe that you have goodness and that what you're offering is coming from a space of love, by all means, get it out there. Do everything you could do to share what you have with the world. And you don't have to hard sell. You know what? The good will find you. They always do. We attract one another like magnets. It just is what it is. So if you find yourself pressing too hard, you're probably not going about it correctly. Step back for a second, reflect. What's going on here? What's happening? What's working? What's not working? Right? Get some coaching. Every entrepreneur on this planet right now should be working with a coach. And I don't say that only because I coach. Coaches have coaches too, Every one of us needs to have somebody who's giving us unbiased feedback. Even if it's just somebody who knows how to listen, giving you an ear, lending you an ear to let you voice what's going on in your head, let you release it. Many times I'll also recommend journaling. Get it out of your head. Whatever those toxins are, whatever those poisons are, release them. Also, allow yourself to step into the vibration of love, the vibration of happiness, the vibrations of joy. And I know that's easier said than done for some of us, but you know what? It starts with who you're surrounding yourself with, right? Me, it's easy. I mean, I'm a dog lover, so having a great dog is a great start, right? There is nothing but unconditional love that comes out of my dog. And all he wants to do is snuggle and love all day. And if you give him that, he's happier than anything in the world. But it's like, you pet your dog for 5 minutes and it's like, what was I angry about? What was bothering me? What's wrong with the world? Who cares? You know, because the energy in my household just lifted from that, right? You want to raise your energy? Play with your kids. If your kids are young enough, play with your kids. Break out a board game. Go out in the backyard and have relay races. Run across the grass barefooted once again. It doesn't take a lot. That's the problem. We've been sold a bill of goods it's got to be so hard in order for you to succeed. No, it doesn't. It's these subtle little shifts that we make that allow us to step into the power, that allow us to connect, that allow us to vibrate on a similar frequency so that we attract one another toward us. And you know what? If we're ever meant to do business together, we'll know. There'll never have to be a hard sell. You'll just know. You know what I mean? And for my money, that's what I bank on. I surround myself with the best people I could find. People who are vibrating on a similar or higher level than me. I want them to bring me up, if possible. You hang around and it's funny. It's like I think of the old advice from the parents many years ago. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. They'd be like, don't hang out with that kid. He's a bad kid. You're going to get in trouble if you hang out with that kid. Mom knew. Mom just knew. If I hang out with that guy, I'm going to be in fights every day. I'm going to be, doing something bad. She knew. It's no different now, folks. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you listening to? It's like the gauntlet I threw out last time when we had this conversation. Getting people to listen to. I don't know how many I said. Was it 7 or there was a handful? Listen to a handful and comment on 7 of them or something like that. Just do that and listen to some of these brilliant people who are giving of themselves and sharing love and kindness. How can you be angry after that? How can you not be willing to forgive after that? And if you still have difficulty, get a coach, talk to somebody, therapist if needed, but talk. Stop being so afraid. And also, for us tough guys out there, it's okay to be vulnerable. I'm serious about that. It's very okay. Stop thinking you need to hold it all in and stop thinking that you need to show up like a big tough guy. That crap don't work anymore. Not in this decade. And what I'm saying to you is it's okay. None of us are perfect. We all have problems. We all have warts, right? If you reach out and you connect with another human being and they're able to lift you up and you're able to lift up this next person and they're able to lift up that next person, next thing you know, we're all lifted. And the good part about it, you get a small handful of us that are raising energy and that offsets a whole ton of negative energy people. All right? So you get 1,000 people raising their vibration. That's going to offset millions of cognitive dissonant naysayers. Seriously. So it is all a game, the game of life. What do you want to do with it? That's what it comes down. What do you want? The hardest question I've ever asked any coaching client. What do you want? I can't tell you how many people can't answer that question. At the end of the day, they don't know what they want. And that's what makes life so difficult. Right? I don't know, Corey. How do you feel about this?
I have been very quiet. Yes, I mean, look, I'm fascinated, and it is not easy for most of the people, as Avon said, to step out of their cocoon.
Yes.
Yeah, the brave ones, the bold ones, even. Yeah, who turned into who turned inwards. And it's we just recently talked about it in the community. It's not only about the connection to connect with each other and then start talking. It's more to derive the actions out of it and then start supporting each other, because everybody has something he can help with others.
Yes.
So
Oh,
if we
yes.
help each other for a better outcome for the group, which actually is also the quintessence of a community, which we forgot to realize, that's actually the origin, where we can help each other, support each other, where we're giving and receiving at the same time. Yeah, that's the challenge. A lot of people to ignite the spark in everybody, to remind ourselves what is essential and meaningful in life and where we need to go back. So turning around from the materialism, yeah, that we need a bigger car, a bigger house, whatever, yeah, coming back to what really matters, the interaction between human beings, taking care of each other, nurturing positive vibes, yeah, thoughts, all these things. So, and you're a perfect example for somebody who is inspirational, encouraging, yeah, to get people on the higher frequencies, yeah, and pull them out of the fear vibe, which everybody's facing right now. Yeah.
Right. Brilliant. 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 See, I knew there was a reason we had to get you talking down there. See, I'm looking because for me, you're down there right now. As the cubes of the faces move around the screen here. Um, absolutely. I firmly agree with you. And it is all about stop thinking about ourselves sometimes as well and start thinking about others. How do we help others? How do we add value to other people around us? Right? If ever there was a time to start thinking about networking and referring, help your fellow entrepreneur right now. Refer the business. Find ways to lift them up, because you know what? They're good people too, and they deserve to have a business that they can be proud of. And you help them a little bit now, and you know what? They help someone else, and someone else helps them. And this is the way the game is played. I use the phrase all the time where I say, stop thinking competition and start thinking collaboration. It's not about competing. And well, if I can't, then if I give them this lead, then it takes away from what that client's gonna spend with me. If you think that way, your mindset needs a lot of work. Abundance creates more abundance.
Totally agree. Again,
You
it
know?
just gets back to what you said at the top. It's about we're in a time now where we need to be more human. We've got to
Yes.
bring humanity back. And if there's one takeaway for me from this conversation, it's like we need to get in touch with our own humanity and the humanity with others. And that
Right.
is the pathway forward.
Right. Right. Agreed.
As we come to a close, Dean, wrapping it up, what final comments, thoughts, advice, tidbits, what have you got? Because I know you've got a whole ton of stuff in your black bag, but pull
You
out the
know,
pull out a couple.
I'll tell you. Um, if anything, keep your chin up. Because it is getting better, whether you see it or you don't see it right now. I could feel it. I just can. I can't explain how I can, but I can. I feel it. There's a shift happening. Humanity is shifting. And that's a wonderful thing. Don't let it scare you. Yes, it will be different. Things will be different. They will never go back to the way they were. And why would you want them to? It's like some people get comfortable with they'd rather have the devil they know than the devil that they don't, or the question mark of what they don't know, right? So what I'm saying is be willing to release that devil and say, you know what, there is more, right? Understand that if it's all of this is to be, it is up to me. It's up to you. It's up to you. It's up to all of us. We all have a part to play. And it doesn't have to be something ridiculous. Just, it starts with how you're showing up. How are you showing up for your fellow person? How are you showing up for your neighbor? How are you showing up for your friends? How are you showing up for your kids? How are you showing up for your colleagues and fellow business owners? How are you showing up for others in the six-star group? Are you playing full out? And that's what I will always say. Play full out. You are given the gift of life on this planet right now. This is the most extraordinary time in history. What's going on right now? The earth is shifting. Whether you believe it or you don't believe it, don't take my word for it. Do your homework. Look into it. It is shifting. The energy is shifting right now. A lot of the craziness comes out of the us not understanding that energy shift. We don't know how to deal with it. Some deal with it in a negative way. Some deal with it in a positive way. I feel it. I sense it. I know it's here. And I know it's getting better. We hit rock bottom. We did. Could it get worse? It could always get worse, but it's not going to. You know why? Because there are too many of us now that are aware and awake. There's too many of us that were willing to forgive. Doesn't mean we condone. Remember that. We forgive, right? We let it go, right? And karma's an SOB sometimes. You do bad things, it's going to come back and get you. That's just the way karma works. I don't make that stuff up. But I'll leave you with, I believe Gandhi's the person who said it, be the change you want to see in the world. Be that change, right? I want more. I'm willing to do some more because I know that unless I show up bigger, nothing's going to change for me. At least not to the degree that I want it to. But it started with me looking at, well, what do I want? And I would question and challenge all of you to ask yourselves that same question. What do you want? If we were to have this dialogue a year from today, and I was to ask you, when we sat across from one another, I was to say to you, what has to happen in order for that, when we get together again, what has to happen for you to look at me and say, Dean, this is the most amazing year ever? The transformation that I experienced was brilliant, was lovely, was wonderful. What has to happen for you to be able to say that to me? I'll leave you with that. That's a huge coaching moment right there. Because that, only you can define what that is for you. It's not about keeping up with those people because that's what they want. And, I should probably want that because that's what everybody expects of me. That's bull. What do you want? What will make your life spectacular? Right? Get talking. Get in the group. Get in conversation. Be willing to be vulnerable. Let people in on your little secret. Where do you want? Where do you want to go? And you'll see how people start rallying around you to create it. And even if that's saying a prayer for you, even if that's just thinking good, positive thoughts in your direction, wishing you well on your endeavor to go get it, right? That's a lot. That's wonderful in itself. Somebody sends you positive energy, accept it graciously, right? And be willing to give it. Remember, in this world, you got to give to get, right? You want, give. Give first. Give quick. Give willingly. Give because you love. Don't give because you expect. You give for the wrong reasons, it comes back all distorted. Give for the right reasons, watch what happens. Don't take my word for it. Try it. On that note,
Thank you, Dean. Wow. Love, love, love. There is so much in there, honestly. Jam packed. It was just like stuffing the bag, right? The goodie bag. Oh, and you want some more? You want some more?
right.
Okay. It's overflowing. Corey, have you got any final comments for Dean?
It's funny that what you just said, give rather than take. I'm just reading the book Give and Take from Adam Grant. It's exactly about that. The three
Cool.
type of persons, the takers, the matchers, and the givers. And in every story I'm reading, it's always the giver, yeah, who's reaching the top, yeah,
Right.
without intentionally doing it for himself. It's more for the better outcome of the group. And what you just said with what do you want? I think everybody wants the same, which is a kind of a sense of inner fulfillment. But we need to figure out what it is for us. So going inside by stepping out, getting connected with people, start talking, and then trying to see how can you fit in and help, yeah, so that the community has a better outcome, yeah, which benefits all of us.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, we are doing a great start with each of us doing their missions, one in New York, Australia, Germany, and hopefully we can gather more people to create this ripple effect. Yeah, so
Hmm.
that it's affecting and gravitating the right people to become the non-stoppable mass. Yeah, to move on to a better future.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautifully
Agreed.
put. Yeah, beautifully put. Thank you both. Thank you, Dean. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you,
I
Evelyn.
can't wait to
Thanks, Steph.
have the next conversation. Um, that this one today has been
Likewise.
another gold one. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Have a lovely day, guys.
Thanks. You too.